Hi there, folks. It's Friday with Sandy. Our beloved leader, John Byrne, is standing online to get his COVID shot. So I'm doing this alone with our candidate today, David Harris. Very interesting candidate, graduate of the Air Force Academy. And David, I want you to say hello to the folks and introduce yourself and tell us what you've been doing in the Air Force since you graduated in 2017.
Absolutely. First of all, I want to say thank you. I'm a huge fan of the show and glad to be on. So David Harris, originally from Dallas, Texas, football's king. I played football through high school. That led me to the academy where I played all 4 years, majored in management, had a few other leadership positions while I was at the academy. Once I graduated, made a detour, had a private equity internship down in Dallas, working at a mid-market healthcare fund. After I finished up the internship there, which was my first duty assignment down at Eglin Air Force Base, working on the B-61-12 tailkit assembly, a nuclear gravity bomb.
Okay, so you deal with nuclear weapons. Okay, that's serious. Okay, and then what I see here is long range standoff nuclear missile program office. It sounds like a lot of my relationships without the nuclear part, although some of my relationships, if you speak to the other half of it, they would say it was nuclear. But what does that mean?
So the long range standoff nuclear cruise missile is it's the air leg of our 3-pronged nuclear defense, air, land, and sea. And so we in developing the new and improved air leg cruise missile.
Okay, that sounds serious. Okay, so tell us what you're doing now. I believe you're a spy.
Not quite,
To the
not quite.
extent possible, could you tell us what you're doing at the National Reconnaissance Office? That's what the government calls spying.
Yeah, absolutely. Currently in the DMV area, working as a program manager, like I said, Sandy at the National Reconnaissance Office, working on reconnaissance software development, program manager for about $200 million worth of software development, leading about 80 people.
Okay, we're going to do a handicapping, but we're also going to do this as a hybrid mock interview. Very often, the first question in a mock interview, in a real interview, is could you tell me what you're doing now at work? Okay, this is real important. You've got to be able to do this in a very simple way that the interviewer, who is frequently a member of the Harvard, a member of the admissions committee. They're frequently females, and they may or may not have military experience, but they probably don't.
Absolutely. Day to day, so I take customer requirements and needs and turn that into capability day to day. And how we do that through cost schedule.
Okay, that's a good way. That's a good high level. Who's the customer?
So my particular customer is the National Geospatial Agency.
What's that? The Geospace Agent? We got something like that?
Yeah, we do.
I'm glad to hear it. Yeah.
No, it's good. I'll keep it pretty high level there too, but essentially they're taking all of the collection and information we gather from the satellites and making actionable planning or plans with it. To keep it at that level.
Yeah, so I can say this, but you don't want to say it. Yeah, it's a spy agency, and we gather the data we get. Hey, nothing. Hey, it's a legitimate business, man. It's a spy agency, and the data we get is typically from satellite assets, blah and blah. So what's blah and blah? What other sources of information do you have?
We all the information that I work on and receive are from satellites.
Yeah. So yeah, it's called the National Reconnaissance Office. It's an intelligence gathering office. Some people might call it spying, and we get a lot of information from satellites, and I'm in charge of amassing that information and analyzing it. Is that correct?
I'll be more so. I developed the software that takes the.
That's good. So I developed the software to do this. Wow,
Yeah, right.
that's impressive. Okay, so that's the good stuff. We got here a GPA of 3.06 at the Air Force Academy, which you said is kind of the middle of the class, and a 680 GMAT, which you said you're taking it again next week and you're trying for 700.
Correct.
You got a lot going for you. Very impressive resume. You're an impressive guy. I think if you could get that, it's just cosmetics. It's just like a beauty mark. If you could get the GMAT over 700, that you'd be doing yourself a favor. The only boo-boo is 306. What are you going to say about that?
So it was actually a very interesting story, a little bit of a cliche, but so when I first got to the academy, like I was playing football, I started pretty much day one. And so that kind of added to maybe time management wasn't as good as it was. Definitely was not as true as I needed to be. And about halfway through junior year, I tore my ACL during the all conference season, kind of the cliche, but definitely a lot of introspection and thinking about what legacy I wanted to leave behind while I was at the academy. And a mentor even further said, hey, you're not performing up to your potential. So until then, I never had above a 3.0. I think the highest I had was a 2.5. And then the next semester, I got a 3.6, got a 3.9 over the summer, got a 3.6 again. And then my last semester finished with a 3.8. And so my goal had been after I thought about it, I wanted to get above a 3.0. And so and I got exactly just above a 3.0 towards the end.
Okay, that's an acceptable story, particularly that would be a very solid story. Okay, the great version of that story is, the first couple of years, first of all, I was involved in playing football for the Air Force. Had a little trouble finding my way, wasn't focusing, wasn't able to balance. Yeah, that's a good one. Wasn't able to balance the academics and the athletics. Okay, that's the great version of that story. And then your grades go up. But that didn't happen in your case, did it? It went up and down and up again. Did I hear that right?
So that was just the summer semester. I just took 2 classes over the summer. It was 3.6, 3.6, 3.8 during the actual semesters.
Okay, that's a good story. Man, okay, so that concludes the information gathering. Air Force Academy, you're underrepresented minority. You got, if you could, let's even go with the 680 GMAT. Now you said you've got a buddy at Harvard Business School that's pretty similar to you.
Yep, almost similar path, almost exact similar path.
Well, that's the best predictor. If that guy got in, you stand, well, I think you stand an excellent chance of being interviewed, and you're a pretty slick dude. So I think the interview will go well also. So I think your chances of getting interviewed are, man, they're like 50%. That's as high as I go. You're kind of competing with all the military guys. So a little bit with other service academy guys. But man, this is real solid. I think your chances of getting interviewed are like 50% at Harvard. And what are the schools that you're interested in?
Harvard, Stanford, Wharton, Booth, and Columbia.
Yeah, Stanford's a little harder, but they go for this kind of profile. And at Booth and Wharton, I say this to a lot of people, you got to convince them that you want to go there, because they may think, not incorrectly, that you're using them as a kind of backup.
Oh, no.
So you got to the extent possible, I don't know if they're doing visits. I think visiting is slowed down because of the pandemic, but make as much contact as you can. Talk to people there. Go if they have online forums. Go to those and mention them in your application. Like I really want to go to Booth because of blah and blah, and I was impressed when I attended the online forum, and I've spoken to current student Joe Blow. You got to really stack it up like that. But so then the question is dealing with this 3.06, which is the middle of the class. Yeah, you just got to say, it was, I was a little, I had trouble finding the balance between academics and athletics, and I got that straight. That's a story they're open to. It's a true story, and if the grades went up as they did, that's good. Man, if you take the GMAT over and get a 700, you're a real solid candidate. And the fact that you're the guy a year ahead of you got into HBS, that's a really good indicator. So I think your chances are really good. Is there anything you want to ask me? This is real solid.
Did you have any particular percentage chances wise at the other schools? Specifically at Stanford?
Yeah, they kind of, well, Stanford's smaller, it's more selective. So if your chances of getting interviewed at Harvard are 50%, your chances of getting interviewed at Stanford are 40 to 50%. Wharton, man, they're big. Columbia, they'll go for this. Wharton has got a large class. And I think your chances there are real good about getting interviewed and getting admitted. You just got to do what I told you, which is make the case that you really want to go there and you've done your homework. You're a solid guy, so check back with us and let us know how it works out. And working for the Space Force, why don't we finish off by doing a little mock interview question here. Hey man, what's the Space Force?
Absolutely. Right now, it's actually pretty funny. So they took all of the Space Command, which is mostly led by the Air Force, and transitioned that into the Space Force. And so the National Reconnaissance Office fell under that command. And so now we are a part of the Space Force and furthering its mission. And it's been a lot of fun kind of building the culture and the core of what the Space Force will be in the future.
Okay, just a little mock interview advice. You got to get that story a lot more packaged. Maybe you were dealing with me in context, like, we've discussed it before, but just start from scratch. Tell me, hey, pretend this is your Harvard interview. Hey, man, great talking to you. I see you're working for the Space Force. What is that?
The Space Force, it is directly in charge of all space operations. It's new, as you know, newly created, and a large portion of its officers came from the Air Force, which I was a part of. And as I make that transition now into the Space Force, it is a brand new sister service. We are just now creating the culture, and it's been a lot of fun crafting that and creating the core of what the Space Force is today.
To be honest with you, man, still don't fully understand it.
Gotcha.
It's part of, it's an inter-service office with personnel from the Air Force, the Army, and the Navy. Is that it?
Yes, yeah, it's a separate force. Yep.
Yeah, that's where you got to start.
Gotcha. Okay. Sorry, I got you now.
Part of the United States military. It's a kind of combined team where it has assets from the Air Force, Navy, and Army, or whatever the accurate version of it is. And its mission is to do what?
Oh, the mission is to ensure space dominance.
Yeah, we spy in space. Hey, it's not a state secret, and that's what you do.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, for one of the tricks of the way people screw up the interview is by being not conversational. You've got to be conversational in the interview.
Copy.
People think that the interview is you've got to be formal, but that's the way a lot of people stumble. Good. Okay, David, you got a bright future in business school. I expect you'll be joining your buddy at Harvard, and I hope so. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay, great talking to you.
Great. Thank you so much for having me on. It's been a pleasure.
Okay.